What happened when an undercover CEO discovered exploitation and neglect festering within his own wildlife park? Hello, amazing viewers. Today we're diving into the powerful story of Ethan Carter, the dedicated CEO of Wildhaven Park. When rumors of mistreatment and favoritism surfaced, Ethan decided to go undercover to uncover the truth. What he found was a troubling culture of negligence and cruelty hidden beneath the park's beautiful exterior. But instead of turning away, Ethan took bold steps to rebuild his sanctuary on empathy, integrity, and genuine care for both animals and employees. Stay tuned to see how Ethan transformed betrayal into a triumph of compassion and leadership. Ethan Hayes leaned back in his office chair, staring out at the sprawling grounds of Golden Wild Safari Park. Located on the outskirts of Miami, Florida, the park had grown from a modest wildlife refuge into a renowned conservation center under Ethan's leadership. At 45, Ethan had dedicated over a decade of his life to building the park, pouring his passion for wildlife conservation into every decision he made. Golden Wild Safari Park had become known not only for its diverse collection of rescued and endangered animals, but also for its educational programs and community outreach. The park's mission was clear: to protect and preserve endangered species, while fostering a deeper understanding of wildlife through compassionate education. Ethan had always prided himself on his hands-on approach, often spending time observing animal behavior and collaborating with the park's veterinary team. However, as the park expanded to include new habitats and attract more visitors, Ethan found himself increasingly distanced from the day-to-day operations. The business side of things consumed his attention: meetings with donors, interviews with the media, and managing the logistics of funding new projects. But as Golden Wild Safari Park's reputation grew, so did the whispers of discontent. Complaints from employees began to filter up to Ethan's office. Staff feeling overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated. Equipment maintenance requests were allegedly ignored, and the disconnect between the administration and the caretakers working on the ground seemed to widen with each passing month. Ethan couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something vital was slipping through his fingers. He remembered the early days when he knew every employee by name, when they shared their passion for wildlife over coffee breaks and late-night brainstorming sessions. Now those connections felt distant, replaced by formal reports and filtered feedback. But the final straw came when Ethan overheard a group of visitors complaining about the poor condition of an enclosure he had thought was in pristine shape. The gap between what Ethan believed his park represented and what was actually happening became painfully apparent. Desperate to understand the truth, Ethan decided to take an unconventional approach. He would go undercover as a new animal caretaker, adopting the alias Eli. By immersing himself in the daily grind, Ethan hoped to witness firsthand the realities his employees faced, free from the polished reports and filtered feedback. It was a risky move, but Ethan's commitment to the park's mission drove him forward. He was determined to rebuild Golden Wild Safari Park from the ground up if necessary, to ensure it remained a sanctuary not only for its animals, but for the people who dedicated their lives to caring for them. Ethan Hayes transformed himself into Eli Carter, a quiet, unassuming man eager to work with the animals he had always admired from afar. Gone were the neatly pressed suits and polished shoes of a CEO. Instead, he donned sturdy khakis, a plain green t-shirt, and rugged work boots meant for grueling, hands-on labor. His usually well-groomed hair was tucked beneath a faded baseball cap, and a pair of worn-out gloves completed his disguise. To fully commit to his role, Ethan presented a fabricated resume that listed previous work at a small wildlife sanctuary out of state. With the help of his trusted assistant, Ethan made sure the details were thorough enough to avoid suspicion. His cover story was simple: an animal enthusiast looking for a fresh start after his old sanctuary closed down. When Ethan approached the park's hiring manager, a young woman named Vanessa Reed, she barely glanced at his credentials before ushering him to the team supervisor. Ethan found himself face-to-face with Dominic Price, the head zookeeper known for his dedication to the animals, but also for his tough, no-nonsense attitude. Dominic's eyes narrowed as he appraised Ethan's modest appearance. "So, you're Eli. You want to work here?" Dominic's voice was gruff, his arms folded over his chest. "It's tough work, and we don't have time to babysit newbies." Ethan nodded earnestly, forcing himself to appear nervous. "I'm ready to learn. Just tell me what to do." Without much ceremony, Dominic assigned Ethan to the reptile house, a less glamorous, often overlooked section of the park. Ethan quickly discovered the reason for its neglect. The equipment was outdated, the enclosures were cramped, and the staff was stretched thin. Over the following days, Ethan endured grueling shifts of cleaning cages, preparing food, and providing basic animal care. His muscles ached, his hands blistered, and the heat of the reptile enclosures left him drenched in sweat. Yet Ethan pushed through the exhaustion, determined to blend in and gain the trust of his coworkers. It didn't take long for him to notice the low morale and tension among the staff. Dominic's abrasive leadership style only added to the strain, as did the constant pressure to meet unrealistic deadlines with limited resources. Ethan realized that his greatest challenge wouldn't be surviving the physical labor. It would be uncovering the truth about what had gone wrong within his beloved park. During his first week working undercover at Wildhaven Park, Ethan quickly noticed that most of the staff kept their heads down, focusing on their tasks with robotic efficiency rather than enthusiasm. There was little camaraderie, and the air was thick with unspoken frustration. But amid the strained atmosphere, one person stood out: Liam Torres, a young animal caretaker assigned to the aviary and small mammal exhibits. Liam was in his mid-20s with unruly dark hair, sharp brown eyes, and a wiry frame that seemed to move with restless energy. Despite the grueling shifts and relentless demands, Liam approached his work with genuine passion and dedication. Liam often spotted him chatting softly to the birds while cleaning their enclosures, or spending extra time ensuring the lemurs received not only their scheduled meals, but enrichment activities that kept them stimulated and content. Ethan's first real conversation with Liam occurred during a lunch break, when they both found themselves sitting on a shaded bench near the elephant enclosure. Ethan had just finished a particularly exhausting morning cleaning out the crocodile habitat, his shirt soaked with sweat and his hands raw from scrubbing algae-covered stones. Liam sat down beside him, offering half of his sandwich with a casual smile. "You look like you could use this," he said. Ethan hesitated before accepting, surprised by the unexpected kindness. "Thanks. This place, it's a lot more demanding than I expected." Liam chuckled, his expression one of resigned amusement. "Welcome to Wildhaven Park. If you're looking for praise or decent pay, you've come to the wrong place. But if you care about the animals, you're in good company." As they continued to talk, Ethan learned more about Liam's dedication to the animals in his care. Liam shared stories of staying late to nurse an injured macaw back to health, and spending his own money on toys for the lemurs when the park's budget cuts made proper enrichment supplies impossible. "They don't care about the little details," Liam said, his voice tight with frustration. "As long as the animals are alive and the tourists keep coming, they think everything's fine. But it's not fine." Ethan sensed the pain beneath Liam's words. It wasn't just the exhausting work or the lack of recognition. It was the sense that the animals, the very creatures Liam loved and devoted his life to, were being neglected by the higher-ups. "Why do you stay then?" Ethan asked, genuinely curious. Liam shrugged, his gaze drifting to the elephant paddock where a baby calf was splashing playfully in a small pond. "Because someone has to care, and if it's not me, who will?" That simple, heartfelt answer struck a chord with Ethan. He admired Liam's dedication but also recognized the hopelessness in his voice. It was clear that Liam had been fighting against the neglect and mistreatment of the animals for far too long, without support or acknowledgement. Ethan knew that if he was going to uncover the truth about what was happening at Wildhaven Park, Liam Torres would be the key. But earning Liam's trust would not be easy, especially if Ethan kept his true identity hidden. As the days turned into weeks, Ethan continued his undercover work at Wildhaven Park, carefully observing the daily operations and listening to the quiet complaints of overworked employees. It wasn't long before he uncovered a disturbing pattern of neglect and exploitation. One particularly grueling afternoon, Ethan was assigned to assist Liam in the small mammal enclosures. They worked together cleaning cages and replenishing food supplies, their efforts hindered by the outdated tools and limited resources available to them. "They keep cutting the budget," Liam muttered, his hands trembling slightly as he tightened a faulty latch on the meerkat enclosure. "It's like They expect us to do miracles with nothing. Ethan noticed that the animals were suffering from more than just insufficient resources. Many of the habitats were deteriorating, their structures worn and poorly maintained. Some of the animals displayed signs of stress, feather plucking in birds, pacing in the big cats, and aggressive behavior in primates. Liam's frustration was palpable as he explained how his repeated requests for repairs and enrichment materials had been ignored. They only care about the big attractions, Liam said bitterly. The lions, the elephants, the ones that bring in the tourists. Everything else is just collateral damage. As Ethan continued to dig deeper, he found more alarming evidence of exploitation. Employees were routinely asked to work overtime without compensation, their schedules stretched to the breaking point to cover for the constant understaffing. Complaints were dismissed or met with thinly veiled threats of termination. Ethan himself had experienced the relentless pressure, his own exhaustion growing as he struggled to keep up with the punishing workload, but it was the mistreatment of the animals that disturbed him the most. Through whispered conversations and careful observation, Ethan learned of a shady deal orchestrated by Stephen Harris, the park's operations manager. It seemed Stephen was redirecting funds meant for habitat upgrades and veterinary care into his own pockets, disguising his embezzlement by filing fraudulent reports. Even worse, Stephen's actions were causing direct harm to the animals. Medical supplies were rationed, proper nutrition was compromised, and sick animals were left untreated for weeks. He's been getting away with it for years, Liam confided during one of their late-night conversations. Every time someone tries to report him, they get fired or intimidated into silence. Most of us are just trying to keep our heads down and make it through the day. Liam's words struck Ethan like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just about poor management or budget cuts. It was a deliberate act of exploitation, fueled by greed and corruption. The knowledge filled Ethan with a righteous fury, but also a deep sense of responsibility. Wildhaven Park was his creation, his dream brought to life. And yet under Stephen's leadership it had become a place where cruelty and dishonesty thrived. Ethan felt sickened by the betrayal, but even more determined to set things right. He spent his nights documenting everything he discovered, compiling evidence that would be undeniable once revealed. But he knew he couldn't do it alone. To expose Stephen's corruption and protect the animals and employees from further harm, Ethan needed allies, and he knew exactly who to turn to: Liam Torres. The confrontation came on a drizzly Wednesday morning, the sky heavy with clouds as if reflecting the tension brewing within Wildhaven Park. Ethan had spent weeks gathering evidence of Stephen Harris's corruption, fraudulent reports, misallocated funds, and testimonies from employees who had been silenced through intimidation or termination. But more than the documents and numbers, it was the stories of suffering, both human and animal, that steeled Ethan's resolve. He arranged a staff meeting under the pretense of reviewing new safety protocols, ensuring that nearly everyone would be present. Stephen, smug and oblivious, sat at the head of the table, his arms folded as if he owned the place. His confidence only fueled Ethan's determination. Ethan took his place at the front of the crowded room, his voice calm but firm as he began to speak. I've spent the last few weeks working alongside many of you, observing the conditions, listening to your concerns, and trying to understand what's been going wrong here at Wildhaven Park. His words were met with puzzled glances and murmurs of confusion. Stephen chuckled derisively. What's this, some sort of employee morale exercise? We have work to do, Ethan. Get to the point. Ethan met Stephen's gaze, his expression unwavering. The point, Stephen, is that Wildhaven Park is broken, and I've uncovered why. He reached into a worn messenger bag and pulled out a thick folder, filled with evidence he had painstakingly compiled. With a steady hand, he spread the documents across the table for all to see. Financial records, payroll discrepancies, falsified maintenance reports, everything meticulously organized to leave no room for doubt. Stephen's smile faltered as he glanced at the papers, his eyes narrowing. What is this nonsense? He scoffed, though his voice trembled slightly. It's not nonsense, Ethan replied coolly. It's proof of your corruption, of the funds you've been siphoning away from habitat repairs, employee wages, and veterinary care, of the lies you've told to cover your tracks while animals and employees suffer under your negligence. The room fell silent, the weight of Ethan's words sinking in like stones. Employees exchanged shocked, fearful glances. Liam, who had been standing at the back of the room, stepped forward. "He's telling the truth," Liam said, his voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath the surface. "I've seen the reports. I've heard the excuses. And I've watched you punish anyone who dared to speak up." Stephen's face turned an alarming shade of red. "You're all making a mistake," he snapped, his composure crumbling. "I've kept this park running. You've exploited everyone here for your own gain," Ethan cut him off, his voice sharp and unrelenting. "But that ends today. I've already reported your actions to the board of directors. They'll be conducting a thorough investigation, effective immediately." Panic flashed across Stephen's face, his arrogance replaced by fear, his spluttered incoherently, his attempts to defend himself falling apart as the truth bore down on him. Ethan remained resolute, his gaze unwavering as he addressed the staff. "I owe you all an apology for being so distant, for trusting the wrong person, and for allowing this park to become a place where corruption could thrive. But I promise you, from this moment forward, things will change." The employees watched him with a mixture of disbelief and hope. Ethan could feel their doubt, but also their yearning for something better. His hands trembled slightly as he gathered the scattered papers, his determination stronger than ever. Stephen had been exposed, but the true challenge lay ahead, repairing the damage and rebuilding Wildhaven Park from the ground up. And Ethan was ready to face it, no matter how daunting the road to redemption would be. With Stephen Harris officially removed from his position and the board launching a formal investigation, Ethan wasted no time implementing immediate reforms to rebuild Wildhaven Park's integrity. Determined to restore the sanctuary's original mission, he called a meeting with the remaining staff, his voice calm but firm as he outlined his plans for change. Ethan began by establishing an open-door policy, encouraging employees to share their concerns, ideas, and grievances without fear of retaliation. The park's workers, many of whom had been stifled under Stephen's oppressive leadership, were finally given a voice. Ethan promoted Liam to a managerial role, recognizing his dedication, knowledge, and genuine passion for animal welfare. Under Liam's guidance, a new team was assembled to assess the conditions of each habitat and prioritize necessary repairs. Ethan also made significant changes to payroll, ensuring fair wages and overtime compensation for all employees. Those who had been exploited or unjustly terminated were offered their positions back, along with personal apologies and assurances of better treatment moving forward. Financial transparency became a cornerstone of Ethan's reforms. He arranged for independent auditors to review the park's financial records and implemented regular reports to keep the board and staff informed. Additionally, Ethan allocated funds toward expanding the veterinary team, improving living conditions for the animals, and investing in training programs for employees to enhance their skills and advance their careers. Ethan's commitment to accountability extended beyond the sanctuary's walls. He reached out to local wildlife organizations, inviting them to participate in collaborative conservation projects that would benefit both the park's inhabitants and the surrounding ecosystems. News of Ethan's reforms spread quickly, attracting positive attention from conservationists and visitors alike. Despite the overwhelming workload, Ethan found himself invigorated by the progress being made. For the first time in years, he felt connected to his vision for Wildhaven Park, a place of compassion, excellence, and integrity. Ethan's determination to transform the park was fueled not only by his sense of responsibility, but also by the newfound trust and support of his employees. And as the days went by, it became clear that Wildhaven Park was on the path to healing. Recognizing Liam's passion and dedication to Wildhaven Park, Ethan made it a priority to ensure Liam's talent and leadership were nurtured rather than exploited. As the park's new operations manager, Liam was given the authority to implement innovative ideas that had previously been dismissed by Stephen. Ethan scheduled a private meeting with Liam to discuss his visions for the sanctuary's future, encouraging him to share his thoughts openly. Liam, though hesitant at first, spoke about his aspirations to improve the park's educational programs, enhance visitor experiences, and develop rehabilitation initiatives for injured wildlife. Impressed by Liam's creativity and commitment, Ethan provided him with the resources and mentorship necessary to turn his ideas into reality. Ethan also encouraged Liam to build a team of like-minded individuals who shared his passion for animal welfare and conservation. Under Ethan's guidance, Liam began implementing changes that revitalized the park's outreach and rehabilitation efforts. Educational tours were expanded to include behind-the-scenes experiences, allowing visitors to learn about the animals' natural behaviors and the importance of conservation. Additionally, Liam initiated a volunteer program that connected local students with the park, fostering community involvement and inspiring the next generation of wildlife advocates. Ethan's trust in Liam's leadership sparked newfound confidence within the young zookeeper. Where Stephen had once silenced Liam's enthusiasm, Ethan now celebrated it, encouraging Liam to experiment, learn, and grow. Their partnership was built on mutual respect and a shared vision for Wildhaven Park's future. Liam's dedication and innovative spirit flourished under Ethan's guidance, resulting in remarkable improvements to the sanctuary's operations and public engagement. As Liam's projects gained momentum, Ethan ensured he had the support he needed to succeed. When Liam expressed concerns about balancing his new responsibilities with his duties as a zookeeper, Ethan responded by hiring additional staff to lighten the workload. For the first time, Liam felt genuinely valued and respected for his contributions. His passion for the sanctuary was reignited, and he threw himself into his work with a renewed sense of purpose. Under Ethan's mentorship, Liam's talent and leadership transformed from mere potential into a powerful force for positive change. With Stephen removed from his managerial position and Liam thriving under newfound creative freedom, Ethan dedicated himself to restoring Wildhaven Park's reputation and fostering a culture of respect, collaboration, and integrity. He started by conducting a thorough review of the park's operations, identifying areas where Stephen's neglect and exploitative practices had stifled growth and creativity. Ethan introduced new policies focused on employee welfare, transparency, and innovation, ensuring that everyone's contributions were valued and encouraged. Ethan held meetings with every staff member, from animal caretakers to maintenance workers, inviting them to share their experiences, ideas, and concerns without fear of retaliation. This open dialogue revealed deeper issues Stephen had ignored: overworked employees, outdated safety protocols, and a lack of investment in enrichment programs for the animals. Ethan addressed each concern systematically, beginning with improved wages, flexible scheduling, and a more supportive work environment. Additionally, he invested in state-of-the-art facilities and training programs that prioritized both animal welfare and employee well-being. Ethan also empowered Liam to continue his efforts to enhance the park's educational outreach and rehabilitation programs. With Ethan's full support, Liam introduced interactive exhibits and workshops designed to teach visitors about wildlife conservation and habitat preservation. Community involvement soared as schools and environmental groups partnered with Wildhaven Park to promote awareness and action. The park's atmosphere transformed from one of exhaustion and fear to one of enthusiasm and collaboration. Staff members who had once felt voiceless now contributed their ideas freely, their passion for the park reignited by Ethan's compassionate leadership. As word of Wildhaven Park's revitalization spread, visitor numbers increased, and the park's reputation as a haven for both animals and dedicated conservationists was restored. Ethan's efforts had not only salvaged the sanctuary's future, but also created a thriving community built on creativity, inclusivity, and respect. Months after Ethan's intervention, Wildhaven Park had blossomed into a model of excellence in wildlife conservation and community engagement. The changes Ethan implemented were now fully integrated into the park's daily operations, fostering an environment where creativity and compassion flourished. Liam's rehabilitation programs were thriving, and his dedication to educating visitors about endangered species and habitat preservation had become a cornerstone of the park's mission. Visitors marveled at the park's transformation, praising the knowledgeable, enthusiastic staff and the state-of-the-art exhibits that emphasized both education and empathy. Ethan maintained a hands-on approach, regularly meeting with employees to discuss their progress, concerns, and ideas. His open-door policy encouraged a steady flow of innovative concepts that continued to improve the park's offerings. Employee satisfaction reached an all-time high, with staff members feeling both respected and empowered. Liam, once dismissed as a mere underling, had grown into a trusted leader, his passion for conservation now inspiring others to follow his example. The park's renewed success drew attention from environmental organizations, securing grants and partnerships that allowed Wildhaven to expand its conservation efforts even further. For Ethan, the journey had been transformative. Not only had he restored the park's integrity, but he had also reclaimed his own sense of purpose as a leader who valued the well-being of both people and animals. As Ethan looked out over the thriving sanctuary he had worked so hard to rebuild, he knew that Wildhaven's future was brighter than ever, and that the lessons he had learned would guide him for years to come. The story of Ethan Hayes' undercover journey at Wildhaven Park teaches valuable lessons about leadership, empathy, and accountability. As CEO, Ethan's willingness to step away from his position of privilege and immerse himself among his employees demonstrated the importance of understanding the struggles faced by those on the front lines. By shedding his authority and actively listening to his staff, Ethan uncovered the exploitation and mistreatment that had been hidden from him for so long. The experience revealed a fundamental truth. Effective leadership is built on trust, respect, and the genuine appreciation of every employee's contributions. Ignoring the voices of hardworking individuals can allow toxicity and neglect to fester, ultimately harming the entire organization. Ethan's commitment to restoring integrity at Wildhaven Park proved that transparency, collaboration, and fairness are essential for building a thriving, compassionate environment. Moreover, Ethan's empowerment of Liam Torres demonstrated that recognizing talent and providing opportunities for growth can inspire positive change and innovation. The story emphasizes that true leadership is not about exerting control, but about uplifting others, fostering creativity, and nurturing potential. Ethan's journey serves as a powerful reminder that empathy and accountability are the keys to lasting success.